a game on horror. I don't know, you wouldn't remember, but we had a game out. It was the haunted house, and it had these little green luminescent ghosts, and you moved them around in the house. I thought that was fantastic. So I really wanted to make a horror game. So I did the game, the art Nightmare. I had an artist do it all, and we had it all airbrushed up. And for some reason, I've always been fascinated in graveyards. I don't know why. Maybe I was an undertaker in a previous life. But I made the whole board with Nightmare in the middle. And it sat on my desk for a year because I just could not work out the gameplay. I mean, how could a piece of cardboard scare somebody? Really hard. Anyway, yeah. I'm at gym one day, and, like, I'm thinking, you kind of, as an artist, you think about shit, and this thing's, obviously fermenting. And I went, bam, if we use the VHS as a clock, a timer, then the game would have a duration. And if we had a host, he could deliver instructions. And because you're playing a game and you agree to play the rules, then he could get you to do pretty much anything, and you'd have to do it because you agreed to play by the rules. It's a bit like playing football, you can't run backwards. So you probably can, but anyway. But you get the drift. Yeah. So I could establish rules, and it all came like a bolt from the blue. I mean, I'm a firm believer in, all these ideas are out there, and they kind of come to you. You're a lightning rod if you're open to it. Artists are particularly sensitive creatures, and if your antennas are tuned, you can pick up what's happening. If I hadn't have done the video board game, someone else, I think, would have done it because, its time was there. So I kind of picked up on that idea, and I remember I rang Philip and I said, I've got it, and we went into the office, and I explained it to him, and he's, yeah, right, yeah. Okay. But I had money, so I actually financed my own pilot. And I wanted to use Wananti Nozzle. He did the Guinness ads, and he was really disturbing on television. He used to come on the Australian TV screens and just go, I like to watch. And I went, yes. He was really thoroughly up unit. And I thought, we couldn't afford a lot of money. I couldn't afford props or anything like that. And, I could afford a headshot because, we were shooting on tape. So we got Wananti in, and, he agreed to do the game, and I wrote the game out and tested it. I had a bunch of kid mates come around. They sat in the lounge room, and I sat out in the sunroom with a microphone yelling instructions. Again, if anybody had seen this, it would want to. But I mean, the general concept worked. People would stop. Whose turn is it next? Or mine, and you abuse them, and it was good fun. And the more pissed we got, the more insulting I got. Anyway, we knew that the essence was work, so we went and shot it. We shot the pilot, and the first Nightmare, we couldn't really afford prosthetic makeup, so we kind of lit Wananti green and had him hooded. And for some unknown reason, I thought that if I every now and then reverse the tape and he talks backwards, that would be a bit sick. But no one could understand what he was saying. But the concept worked. And we went to Village Roadshow. They're a big cinema distributor here. Because I went to my regular board game manufacturer, Crown and Andrews, and they just went, sorry, you're on crack. But and Roadshow got it. A guy called Milt Barlow and Greg Carmock, who's gone now, but they got it. They got it like that. And all of a sudden I had a big film distributor behind us. And I said, look, what I want is to be able to hit the market with a whole lot of ads. And because they were a film supplier with VHS cassettes, they release movies and stuff. I got a Nightmare trailer on every single home video in Australia. Wow. And then Greg, it was like we just swamped the market, and they owned all these cinemas. So whenever you walked in there was this creepy cat yelling at you, stop, just having the chalk top. Anyway, we had Greg hit the plane, and he went right around the world, and he to license this thing. And this is a true story. All this is true that I've told you. And he met this company in Canada, Toronto, called Chieftain, Tom Vernon. And Tom Vernon had discovered and released Trivial Pursuit. So he was an icon. And I remember Tom walking through this factory with me in Toronto, and he said, at one point in time, this entire factory was full of Trivial Pursuit. I was only drip feeding them out because he wanted to create tension on the market. So we only would release 6 here and there. And he said, and he licensed Nightmare for $12 million US. So I was standing in the snow in Toronto going, I'm just worth $12 million bucks, just make $12 million bucks. And the game was going gangbusters in Australia and the UK. And I think we signed up about 30 or 40 million minimum guarantees. So, I was looking at becoming a very rich man.
Yeah.
And Australia was going really well. Anyway, 2 weeks out from the toy fair, Tom Vernon died of cancer. And with him, all those contacts. So the whole internet, or the whole American thrust for Nightmare fell apart. And they defaulted on all the payments, and I was back to being, poor.
Wow.
So that was it. And then we tried a couple of years later. The game got licensed as Atmosphere by Mattel, another true story. And the then CEO of the board game arm, he was out in Australia, and he was always looking over his shoulder. He's looking really dodgy, like. And when we went to a restaurant, he'd always sit and make sure we had a view of the door. I'm a New Yorker, so I can understand that. Anyway, we turned up for the New York Toy Fair. Atmosphere. We had the Rockettes, fucking TVs everywhere. Anyway, the guy gets arrested by the FBI for insider trading on Baby Bell. And there we go. And then our second opportunity to smash America goes walking out the door in handcuffs. So we never managed to, we've got a big fan base. It's got a big fan base. I don't talk to Philip anymore, obviously. He has re-released the game more times than Harry has released documentaries on himself, and every one of them's failed miserably. I think they had a Kickstarter campaign recently. They raised $250,000, and they offered me $2,000 to write it. Off. I lost my copyright on the game when.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We had a very dodgy accountant. Her name was Lynette McPhee. She was actually she ran the biggest tax scheme in Australia's history. It was called the Feds investigated. It was called Operation Wickenby. It was the biggest tax fraud investigation in Australia's history. She went to jail for 15 years, Lynn. She was my accountant. And she took my copyright and gave it to my partner because I decided to go to America and they didn't want me to do it. So anyway, that kind of ties that up. And here we are.